Have you ever wondered why you study and you study and you study, but you don't feel like you're getting any smarter? Well, that's the question we're going to deal with in this edition of Dr. Todd Explains. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Todd. I've been giving some thought to how it is that some people in this technological age can have such wonderful systems of collecting information, yet such poor recollection of that which they've collected. And I think that's kind of the paradox that we find ourselves in for those of us who like to think academically about our pursuits. You've got to remember something. Ideas are the raw materials through which civilizations are made. Richard Feynman once said that memorization is not learning. Learning is playing with ideas until they become a natural part of who you are. And so often we have a very superficial understanding of what it means to play with ideas. We trick ourselves into thinking we're very busy or that we're learning when all we're really doing is clipping different articles, for instance, or pulling stuff together that we never really revisit and we don't process. It's almost like we're gardeners who continually go to the feed store to get seeds, throw stuff out in tilled ground, but never work the ground. And as such, we have a very superficial growth in our knowledge base. We have all these fancy systems of putting together all the information electronically, but we never really work with the ideas that are lying dormant there in the midst of all that information. And so I think you need to look at this a little differently than how it's presented in all of these productivity approaches and how to take these notes and atomic notes and all that stuff. I think your mindset needs to shift. You need to move from being a collector to a curator. What do I mean by that? Well, collectors pretty much pull in anything that may be of some value. A curator is more specific. If you're the curator for a museum, you're going out to bring in things that are very specifically designed to help you further the mission of the museum. A collector just brings anything in. One man's trash is another man's treasure. What happens is the trash really starts piling up, and then you don't have a way of sorting through all that, and it's just overwhelming. So you need to focus on being a curator instead of a collector. I think that's an important way to look at that. Another thing you need to think about is when you do find the ideas in your knowledge information, in your database, if you will, you need to move from being a compiler to a composer. A compiler simply assembles just a bunch of facts. A composer puts them to music or to story. You're pulling out information that you can use to retell, to fashion, to shape, to take that raw material of those ideas that are within your possession and creating something new. Often, people that run in these circles of knowledge management, They want to spend all their time telling you about the latest application they're using, the latest computer system they have, the latest system, but often they don't have a lot to show for it. In other words, there's no true end goal of production other than to assemble a big stack of information. So you need to move from being a compiler to a composer. Now, how in the world do you do that? Well, curiosity is the main thing. Read far and wide, but read with an attentive eye, or if you're listening to audiobooks, an attentive ear. And if something intrigues you as interesting, justify that by asking a question or two of, hey, why is this striking me? Chances are you're connecting it with something you already know. But pull that together and then start. That's the seed right there. The curiosity, not just anything you collect that you may use someday. There may be something that shows up that you'll find very interesting, and it reminds you of something you already know from somewhere else or from another concept or another idea or another experience. And start playing with that idea. Stephen King does this when he writes his books and stories. He could be sitting in a coffee shop and he'll see a guy come in dressed in an odd way, and Stephen King starts asking himself, what if such and such happened to this man as he stood here? And that's how it all gets started. It's a curiosity. He starts playing with that idea of the character and what the character would do given a unique set of circumstances. Well, I would much rather you have 50 notes in your knowledge base and generate from those 50 notes, 3 or 4 really good ideas that you can play with and make something out of, than to have 1,500 notes with no ideas and seemingly no connection in any of them. Don't spend all your time trying to link this, that, and the other. Simply allow ideas to emerge, but be more selective in the ideas you capture. If you'll do that, what you're going to find is that you'll be much more fruitful in your productivity. Anybody can feel good about themselves and think they're really doing something, but just collecting information is a very passive task. You're not stretching your brain and you're not learning. You're not making new neural connections. So if you want to truly learn more, just like Feynman said, it's not about memorization. It's not even about collection. It's about curation of good ideas that strike you, that they're the raw material of your ideas. Make connections there by playing with those ideas and compose something completely new. Well, I hope that this was helpful. I don't know how you feel about that, but in the comments section, if you feel the frustration, let me put it this way, if you feel the frustration related to collecting everything in the world and feeling like you know nothing, tell me about your experience in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Also, if you have found something that works for you as far as what tends to trigger your curiosity that sets you off on the path of playing with ideas, let me know about that as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button so you won't miss any of these videos. God bless. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.